You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so I have a really interesting show for you guys today. And so what we're going to talk about is connecting. And so let me tell you about our guest, connecting visually, storytelling. And so if you're in business or trying to be this, you want to perk up, get your notepads out, and we're going to talk about some good stuff today. So let me tell you who we're talking to today. I've got Lisa Staff, Deevo Tyndall. Okay, so let me tell you about both of them, and then briefly, I'm going to let them tell you about themselves. We're going to get into this great conversation. So Lisa is an enigmatic and unconventional female CEO with over, I thought I was going to say 30 years of running small businesses, former fashion model, entrepreneur extraordinaire, single mother, and interior design expert. She has had success at every turn in entrepreneurial career because of her ability to connect, hear that, and understand people on all levels. She embodies the metaphor of meeting people where they are and turning their lemons into lemonade. So you're going to see success clues here. I want you to hear these as we go through this. Deevo is a thought leader, photographer, videographer, blogger, serial entrepreneur, ex-college athlete. Love that. Me too. Former corporate executive, single father of 2 promising young ladies. I have 3, and now emerging strategy consultant and paid speaker who is fast making his way as an expert in creative digital architecture to help small businesses, entrepreneurs brand and market. Guys, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
That's exciting. Y'all are badass.
Even though I'm not a college athlete, like feeling left out.
You said former, right? And what's that one of those commercials? Everybody goes, when you come out of college, everybody goes pro in something else other than whatever they're playing.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So I think you did you're doing all right. Okay. Business is your sport. What didn't I tell them? Tell them, about that. And let's get into purpose and problem solving, visual storytelling, because y'all do photography, videography, strategy, and you think, well, photography, how am I helping business with that? And so I know people that just take pictures, right? And y'all have crafted a business to help people solve problems. So to me, that's utterly fascinating in and of itself. So let's talk, guys. Good. Welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thank you. I think a lot of what we do as humans is we listen to other people. And Deevo and I actually met through social media and created a relationship. We connected with people and we ended up connecting with each other. But I think as you go along in your business and you start listening to what people are saying and what they're asking for and what they're needing, and even yourself as you're working in your own entrepreneurial business, what you're having a struggle with. And going through that, we found that we had people asking us for the advice on the exact same things, what they were struggling with, what we were struggling with. And a lot of the things that we were doing kind of fit into helping them out with that. Mm-hmm. I think when you're doing something and it becomes very easy for you and you're doing it all the time and you feel like everyone else can do it and you don't realize it's your superpower. So I think that's kind of where we met, we banded together and we created our business because we felt this need. And I think with all businesses, when you see that need and you fill it, that becomes the startup for a great, successful business.
Absolutely. I love that. Deevo.
I think for me, I worked in the corporate world for almost 15 years while I was simultaneously just moonlighting on the side. And one of the observations I made in the corporate world, first and foremost, that wasn't for me, but because I worked on really large scale projects, they were spending millions of dollars. And we're talking $1 million projects that extended out over the course of a year. And one of the things that I noticed early in that process is that because the corporation was so big and because there were so many moving parts, but so much politics involved, that things took forever to to change, that it took forever to implement anything. And so it was then that I decided that, I really wanted to focus on my own business, on my own diversity of my own portfolio, so that I could be more nimble and effective in what I was doing. And so that's sort of why we're in the space that we operate in. But one of the things I observed that was really kind of embodies where we are today in our business with Sprout is that I found that business was mostly just pragmatic, especially in the days that I was there. It didn't really touch on the heartstrings and the emotional aspects of branding and marketing. It was sort of like, check it off the list, get it done, let's just move on to the next project. And there wasn't a lot of sort of emotional heartstring aspects to the branding and marketing. And so social media, especially in the last 5 years or so, has given us the ability, especially as solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and small businesses, to have at our disposal the ability to speak to this massive audience that would have never had the opportunity to speak before unless we've got millions of dollars in our marketing budget. And one of the things that it's sort of morphed into is this enigmatic microcosm that allows us to be both left brain and right brain and instill both pragmatic and emotional aspects into our branding through storytelling, which involves photography, it involves showing up on video, it involves behind the scenes. There's a whole bunch of different elements to it. And so that's sort of the space that and the approach that we take to it now.
And
That's
I think
awesome.
we used to have that mindset that you build a website and they will come and that's all you needed and business will just flow in. That doesn't happen anymore. There's so many other things that you need to touch on and you need that social proof. People are going to perhaps find your website, but they're going to look and see where you're showing up socially on all the platforms as well. And for us, as we were entrepreneurs in our other businesses separately doing photography, well, honestly, there's a billion other photographers. Everybody's picked up a camera. Everyone has an iPhone, so they're a photographer now. What sets you apart? Well, your story sets you apart. How are you reaching out to people? How are you telling your story? How are you connecting with other people?
Let's talk about that. So how does storytelling fit in your mind into branding and marketing?
I think at the crux of everything we do as humans, that is the interconnectivity between us all. So Curtis, you just started off the outset of your program with, you heard that I was an ex-college athlete, and right away you sort of picked up on that. And you connected with that. You heard that Lisa was a former fashion model, and you sort of your eyes perked at that. So as business owners, if we can find those little subtleties and nuances of our story and share those things that add value from our perspective, there are other people who hear those subtleties and nuances and can connect with those. And at the crux of everything we do, if you go back thousands and thousands of years, we used to sit around campfires as early humans and tell stories to each other of whether the saber tooth that we evaded that day or the local tribe that we connected with, whatever it was. And so it's no different today. We use our social media platforms, we use marketing, we use branding to tell our personal value proposition to the world. And what do we bring to the table? And it's not going to connect with everybody. It's going to connect with somebody. And if we're trying to connect with everybody, we're going to be exhausted trying to do that. So we want to fine tune our message, fine tune our branding, fine tune our marketing to speak to the people who we can truly connect and add value to their lives. And for me, that's what storytelling does in marketing and branding.
Yes. And so, Lisa, you said something that I want to touch on is that you found your superpower, and I call it from Dan Kennedy, your unique ability. What comes easy to you that other people find hard? And sometimes we think, oh, this is no big deal because it's easy for us. And then, you'll say something, they're looking at you like you gave them manna from heaven, right? How does understanding your superpower in your mind translate to your clients and gaining new clients or serving your clients?
Well, I think again, everybody has that superpower, and I think within our business,
I don't think
understanding
people
our own
know
business,
that they have a
they
superpower.
don't. They don't. There's certain things that you just say to even your friends, and you're like, "That's not normal. Like what you're doing is not normal. It's like superhuman." I think within our businesses, we do understand what comes easier for us. We sometimes contract out other work to other people so that we can do what we need to do and stay in our lane. And I think one of the most important things within what we offer to people is we offer that expansion in their life and in their business, because social media can be exhausting if it's not the thing that fits for you. Adding that to your timetable, to your schedule. So understanding that there's some people that can magnify your business by helping you find out what your story is, because it's really hard. Even Deevo and I were just in our own coaching call. And what we do for other clients, it's like we actually need someone to do that for us, to come in and be removed from us, look at us and decide, hey, you're really good at this. This is what people need to know about you, and tell your story. But that's what we do. We go in as someone that's a little bit more removed. We go through branding with their team, with individuals. One thing that I think sets you apart is having that start where you figure out, even if you haven't really done it for a while, you haven't thought about it. What is our branding? Is it our colors? Is it our logo? Or is it what we do, what our secret sauce is, how we're speaking to clients? So going in and visually and intellectually helping people to figure that out. And then from there, see how it kind of morphs into their business and how it trickles down into all the things that they're doing.
And that's not what most people do, is it? They're just kind of yelling louder than, come Basie, come buy my crap.
I think you try to hit the ground running, and you're thinking about all the other things you need to do instead of streamlining and figuring out how you're going to target those things that you really want to have happen.
I'd like to add one piece to that. At the outset of what you were saying, Lisa and Curtis, people don't know about their superpower. I just think that they haven't yet discovered it. I spent 15 years trying to figure out what I was really passionate about. And I moved around in the corporate world in project management and technology, and I did all these different things, kept trying to fit my square hole into my square peg into a round hole. And it wasn't until I really sort of realized that my superpower had nothing to do with working for large corporations. It was working for myself and growing my own brand, that I realized what my superpower was. So it's interesting. I think everybody does have it within themselves, but I think there are also a large percentage of the population that sort of fit into the paradigm of the corporation, that not everybody is cut out for entrepreneurial life.
It's good to know that. Like, it's sometimes you can, what do they call it? Entrepreneurship within an organization, that works very well. It's everybody doesn't have, Jim Rohn used to say, wages make you a living, profits make you a fortune, right? So you might find a side hustle, but you don't have to leave your job. And if you can become an entrepreneurial thinker, you can stay where you're at and figure out how you can create more value in the organization that you're already in, because money follows value. And most people are sorry, right? So because you can apply what they're talking about within your organization. Here's the thing. So what's the difference between posting content and telling your story? So because what you guys do is help them figure out their story. And so now you want to get your, tell your story through these different outlets. So how is that different from just posting?
I think it's no different than any of the other practice of your business. If you have no purpose behind it, if you're just sort of showing up and going through the motions and checking off your 9 to 5 that you put in the hours for the day, and then you go home, how much real impact have you not only made for your business but for yourself? And so social media is not dissimilar to that, but I'd like to expand the conversation. Branding and marketing, while social media is a large component of that, especially in today's environment, branding and marketing, there's still a strong foothold in a variety of different areas. And so especially as small businesses, we would encourage everybody, and we take them through this branding audit exercise to sort of figure out where's the low-hanging fruit and where can they make the biggest impact for what their current value proposition is. And it might not always be social media. And if it is social media, it's not necessarily every channel. You might have your best foothold, Curtis, on LinkedIn because you're speaking to an audience that sort of talks your jargon and vernacular, right? Whereas Lisa, she really likes to dance, so she might want to play over on TikTok a little bit more, right? So the whole idea around marketing and branding and social media is first figuring out, what are you really good at and where can you have the biggest bang for your buck? And then once you get into that space in terms of posting content versus not, or just having a strategy behind it, again, if you're trying to speak to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. We've heard that. That's a common cliche. But more importantly, the whole piece of just posting content, there's no purpose behind it. What's the end game behind it? And if you can take a step back back and better understand who you are first introspectively and the value that you add, the problems that you solve, then you want to fill in those pillars or those buckets with content that speak to each of those areas of the problems that you solve, the value that you add. And then what happens is it sort of compound effect. It starts to connect with people whose problems you're solving. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, I'm so glad you said that, because social media is not marketing. It's just a channel.
Absolutely.
Right? It's market message media. Media is, where are the fish? You're fishing. Where are the fish? And then your unique value proposition that you help them articulate. Now you aim that. Well, are my people on LinkedIn? Are my people on TikTok? Are my people on IG? And now you post your story onto that. So I want y'all to hear the pattern there, because a lot of people, you're just throwing stuff up and because you don't own Instagram or LinkedIn, right? So that's just traffic. What is traffic? Eyeballs on your stuff, but you have to get them off of that into, and that's where I think the storytelling that you all teach is so powerful, because that's, people understand, because people just throw out facts, right? And you want to tell the story and what's going to be a happy ending for them.
Well, another piece, if I may add to that,
Yeah,
which is a different part of the equation that we haven't even factored in yet, is that you're playing in a sandbox that is owned and controlled, like you just said, by someone else. But here's the paradigm shift you have to wrap your head around. That sandbox, not only is it owned by someone else, but it's puppeteered by someone else.
Yeah.
So they engineer what they want to be seen. And so there's all sorts of, everybody's heard about, all the algorithm. Well, the algorithm is real, and the algorithm is controlled by someone else other than us. And so all we can do is sort of play by the rules. But like anything else, humans are really good at re-engineering rules and finding hacks, if you will.
Yeah.
So the hacks in this case for social media, there's a few simple rules that you need to follow. And it's purpose, consistency, being part of the social water cooler. You have to engage. You can't just dump content on a stream and expect to be found. You have to be part of the conversation, and you have to consistently show up. And there's a whole bunch of elements to that you also have to factor into your strategy of your branding and marketing.
And I think it takes into the human behavior and our human condition. We are not intrigued by surface level conversations with people all the time. We want to go a little deeper. So what can you do that's more intriguing? What can you do that's going to, dangle that carrot, and people are going to come back, or they're going to like your voice and what you're saying. We can only pretend so long. We need to at some point tell our story and what we do, and tell it in a way that connects with other people. So we need to learn that as well.
So let's talk about connecting. How do we, and how do you help people, maybe one or two ideas on connecting with your ideal buyer, or the ideal person or companies that you can serve, that their audience is trying to serve out there and solve their problem. We talked about this, I think, before we recorded, that we solve problems, right? But the bigger the problem, you want to seek problems, right? Because that's a solution to somebody's problem. And the bigger the problem you can solve, the bigger the check. Okay. Because money follows value. You just created value for that person, and that's the value. But a lot of people, I think, are having a challenge connecting with their people and attracting. Jim Rohn says success is something you attract by the person that you become, and getting your story out there. But most people are running around chasing, like herding cats. If you're chasing prospects or potential buyers for your stuff, what I see your overall business is is helping people attract the people that they're meant to serve. And so what are maybe some ways that you can give them to begin to think about how to connect their ideal buyer?
Can I just say something before Deevo starts? Because I know he's going to have some great points. The one thing that we run into with every client that we talk to is, how quickly can I see results? What's my ROI?
Yes.
What am I going to see a change in this? Where are my numbers going to be in a month? And as with anything, it takes time. And with that time, the more effort you put into it, the more time, the more understanding, the more pivoting, the more adopting, the more looking at your metrics, the better you're going to get. The more just experimenting with different things, the better you're going to get in the results, and having that ability to adopt. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. That's yes. I've experienced that. It's like you have to say it just so that you get better at your message, because when you first started, you're not any good. So like people start podcasts, or, and you're like, is this thing on? Is anybody listening? And nobody's listening, but that's good because you ain't any good yet. And, it took me about 50 episodes just to find my voice, and if I have one, I'm not, I guess I do. Somebody's listening, but yes. So that was a great point. Thank you for that. Because those little distinctions are important. Matter of fact, I had the same questions while I was starting the podcast, right? And then I was listening to somebody, I think it was Dean Jackson, and you want to attract people, capture information, and nurture them. And I stopped looking at my show as a attraction thing, but more as nurturing. And so once I understood where it fit in my continuum, I wasn't, I didn't try to make it do backflips. This is really to get people to get to know me. I like educating, and I think as you're working with them, if y'all reach out to them, you got to have the proper expectation. And Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It takes time. You have to be consistent.
Another piece of that, and Lisa's spot on that. And we actually did a conversation about this last week, and we can talk a little bit further about it. But there are measurable KPIs that you can achieve through your social media, and you should understand how to read your data. Like that's not an anomalistic philosophy. But before you start approaching your KPIs and first of all, trying to measure the effectiveness of your campaigns or your digital advertising or whatever it is, you still have to go back to what I was saying earlier. You need to understand what you're trying to affect in the first place. Your KPIs are what you're trying to affect, right? Everybody wants to see these massive numbers, correct? But if you're throwing darts at the board all day long without any purpose, without any strategy, without really understanding what your brand voice messaging really is, your KPIs are going to be all over the place. Mm-hmm. So we, first and foremost, understand what your brand message looks like so that when you do start making traction, you understand what those KPIs are actually measuring. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that is that, you said Rome wasn't built in a day. Lisa talked very specifically about stop being so focused on this. I sit outside my window here in my office and I watch this guy across the street, and he's always working on his yard. Like, I don't know what he does, but he's always working on his yard. And I don't know how he has the time to do that, but he's very purposeful about it. He lays rocks down here. He has gravel here. He's tweaking bushes here, and he's very purposeful about that. And the output of it is this beautifully well-crafted lawn. Well, your social media is no different than that. Your marketing and your branding is no different than that. Understand with the blueprint sort of as before you build your house, what's the foundation? What sort of architecture do you want? All these different things. And then once you have that blueprint built, then you set about building it, or your landscaping, et cetera. And so that whole piece, people sort of get caught up in this, like, I need to see numbers. I need to see likes. I need to see impressions. I need to see all these things. I need to see money, money, money. And it's like, that's not what social media was built for. Social media was built to establish proof of your existence and allow people to connect to a larger swath of people they've never been able to connect with. And if you can change that paradigm in your head, then and just focus on showing up and being consistent and purposeful, you'll find that the rest of it sort of takes care of itself. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. There are people that you can reach way more people now for free than you could ever, but you got to say something. Like, people, if you don't understand why they should be doing business with you, or what result that you can help them achieve that they want, what are you talking about? What are you tweeting about? Then you're just yelling about, and you're posting pictures on your rented Bentley about how we're doing this and I'm working for all this dumb stuff. I almost cursed. And because that annoys me greatly, because people don't know what you're talking about, right? Like what you're talking about, that you're teaching them about, having a story and figuring out how to affect people. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I think it's so powerful. I want you all to tell them about your businesses, what you do and who you help, and a little bit about how you help them. But who's your ideal person or ideal company that you guys serve, and what, I want you to talk about what you do a little bit.
I don't know how intentional we were to start out. Honestly, basically we started out because Deevo slid into one of my DMs And we went from there. And just backtracking there, that's one of the things that you can be doing, connecting with people on your platform. Deevo's fantastic at it. We've been able to connect with other people that have influenced our business, helped us become friends, all of that. So first of all, reaching out to all those people are looking for value. Whatever they're coming to your social media for, whether it's visually beautiful, whether you're teaching them something, whether they think you're funny, whatever those things are, they're only going to show up if there's value for them. But we've been able to, as we've gone through different iterations of our business, connect with those people that maybe we vet them a little bit when we're doing their branding strategy. It helps them, but it helps us to make sure that we are able to basically be in bed with them and help them with their business, because you do spend so much time. We look at people that are intriguing, they're giving back, they're enigmatic, they may not know any of these things, but they have real value, and you are excited and propelled to help them out. But I think what happens is they're not really sure how to do that. And they could be people that are doing keynote speakers speeches every week, or they're instructing people in front of large groups. But when you say to them, hey, you need to show up daily, we need to do some photography, you need to talk about this and this, and here's some things, they're overwhelmed. So I think what we do is we just come with a strategy to help them get that plan out there and show up, and then take that and take it to the next level. Just like you would have a business plan of where you want to be in 3 months, 6 months, in a year. We do that with their social media. They might have some ideas that they want to, have come out, but they don't know how to propose that to anyone. And this gives them a platform and a schedule of how to do it. And we turn them into supermodels. So, hey.
I wanted to add one final piece of that whole sort of understanding your KPIs. We call them KPEs, by the way, which is engagement instead of, but the piece is this neighbor across the street. I just want to kind of hone in on that. People get focused on the growth factor too much. But the thing of it is this neighbor doesn't know that I'm over here voyeuring on his yard. And there are thousands of people just like me who drive by and see that yard. We don't stop, ring the doorbell and be like, dude, your yard is badass, bro. So the same thing happens in your social media channel. Like every single day, people are scrolling through. And when you have 1 million pieces of feed that you can scroll in about 60 seconds, you're not always going to stop and say, hey, or stop and add value to someone's content, but that doesn't mean it's not being seen. So a lot of times people are like, well, my likes aren't going up, nobody's commenting on my feed, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of reasons why that is. Some of it might just be that your content sucks. So if you can continue to show up, yeah, no, like for real, like there's always people looking. Lisa and I were in a coffee shop recently in the most obscure places, and somebody calls out her name, and they've been following her on Instagram for years. They've never dropped a comment. They've never dropped any information, but they knew everything about her life. Like they were the neighbor next door watching her. And so the point of that lesson is like, people are always watching. And if you can continue to be consistent in your output, you're eventually going to start to make a foothold with people, and eventually people are going to start following it, but it doesn't happen overnight. And that's where your other marketing tactics come into play. You use your social media as proof, and then you use your other things, newsletters, email funnels, websites, landing pages, all the other traditional aspects that support all of that in your website and your social. And what happens if you can find a way to symbiotically implement all of them, that's when you start seeing revenue numbers.
Yes.
So you can't just show up once. It's like training for a marathon. You're not going to take a run around the block and then you're like, I'm good, I did it.
Right.
No,
because you have to do your
initial
initial
over and
stuff
over again.
Yeah, you have to do. So you have to, like I used to do. I like on Facebook. I don't really market on that, but I remember I was coaching travel soccer. My daughter was like from 9 to about 12. And I would see people at the gym or people that would follow me, and they were like, hey, I saw you coaching, how the girls doing? And they never commented or anything, but it was just like that. Or I saw, coaching my other daughter in basketball. In the first year I coached, we won the championship, and I had a picture of them up there. I was just looking back through my stuff. So it's like, oh, I saw you. I was working one-on-one I think she was like 7. We were just at the gym, working on her, I think she was like 6. I'm like making her do drills. And I had so many people that I would see. It's like, oh, I saw you. I'm working on my daughter, her stuff. And I just posted that, and I wasn't selling anything. There was no sales message. It was like top of mind and let people know their financial advisor has a life. outside of, this stuff.
And exploiting your kids, basically.
Yes.
Because you get more likes when you put your kids up.
Yes, that's right. So I should pay
Lisa
them.
talks a lot about social proof. You'll hear her talk about that in a lot of her dialogue. And the funny thing is that you asked about our ideal client. Another element of your social media channel, if you're building it with efficacy, is that when you're, let's just say in our space, you're trying to find new clients, right, Curtis? So when you meet with somebody, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to go straight to your social media channels to sort of see how you show up. And so they're vetting you just like we're vetting each other, right? And so social media has that sort of kind of like, let me look behind your curtain and just see what you really are, right? If you're showing up and doing the social proof like Lisa's talking about, you're more inclined to have some sort of value right off the bat for the people who are trying to vet you in a business sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could talk to you all day because I bunch of stuff, but I with it like do a part 2. But anything I should have asked you that you want to share that I didn't ask you? That's my catch-all to make sure I didn't forget anything.
I think sometimes it's overwhelming. Social media. I know there's days that you're excited about going on it, and there's days that it's overwhelming, and that's normal. Not everyone can afford to have a team. We have a team because we don't do everything. We're staying in our lane on the things that we're really good at. And then we have other people that do it. Same with your social media. But if you can't hire a team, then you need to be really strategic about it, just like you are with everything else in your business. Calendar what you're going to do, make it part of your daily schedule. You can have apps where you're going to, schedule all those social media content, your assets and everything that are going out, but just be professional, be scheduled, make it part of your priorities.
And hone in on it. I'm actually doing a video series today that I'm recording on, and it's specifically sort of an offhanded message to one of our clients, because she emails me and texts us on a daily basis. Like, she wants to try this, she wants to do that. Oh, can we do this? Can we change that? And I'm like, slow down, focus on what you really want to focus on right now, which should be 3 or 4 of your key low-hanging fruit pieces. Start building out some segments that we can grow into, and let's focus on those, because you're trying to expose a brand new concept to all these people, and she's launching a new brand. And if you start filling up their inboxes with all of these different things, I do this, I do that, I did this, I did this, I'm also this, all that, by the way, I can also fix that. People are going to have information overload, first of all, but they're also going to have
speed dating.
Yeah, exactly. But they're sort of going to be confused on what your true value is. Are you this, or are you that, or are you this, or are you that, or like hone in on a few, and you'll be more, you'll just, if you're more focused. And what that does is, if you're more focused in your space, not only do you have greater bandwidth, but you can be more purposeful in your message itself, as opposed to trying to fill in all of these buckets and these peg holes. Does that make sense?
Completely. Because I can be that person, and
So am I.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. So through Russell Brunson's book and this other book, The Truth, Dana Derrick's, and I've really been honing in on the idea of the value ladder. So I'm just trying to find a thing that I can drive all of the front end towards, and then just ascend them, through just being, all right, they did this. Now this might be another way for us to do something, and then just do one thing instead of like a guided tour through your store. All right, you need a kayak. Well, all right, well, now you need paddles, you need the water gear, you need this and that go along with that. But you don't just bring it all out and hit them over the head with all this stuff. And I think that sometimes we do that. So I have been trying to, because I have like a shiny object. I just, I'm all over the place. This, how hard it's me to stay focused on with all these things you're saying. I want to keep it tight, because I could go here and go left or right all the time. So it's structured. With you all, with your messaging, and kind of lead them down a path and not be all over the place, and being
What's your sport? What do you like? What was your sport?
Basketball.
Okay, so I'm a basketball player, not very good. I'm sort of the White Rodman of the day. But take basketball, for example, right? When you're out there playing in a game, your coach isn't going to throw 50 plays at you to introduce you all at once, right? There's 2 or 3 keynote. You're going to introduce the will. We're going to introduce some screen plays, just some basic stuff, right? And let's really get good at those. And let's go out there and play with those basic plays. And as we evolve as a team, as our concepts get better, as our skills get better, as our teamwork and our collaboration gets better, we slowly trickle in new aspects of our game, trick plays and little things like that.
Right.
Your marketing, your branding, your social media, it should all be the same thing. Focus on what you're really freaking good at, what you're really passionate about, the things that you really want to get up in the morning, and spend some hard-earned energy on that. And then once you've started to build that, then you can start introducing little things that also want to add some more frosting on the cake, if you will.
Right. I call it, you got to football or block and tackle or pick and roll. You got to master the basics.
Absolutely.
And never get off the basics. And then once you have what I call your offense down, now you can add some more stuff to it. But you can't just start out with all over the place. You need to figure out what are the bases, what am I good at, get that working. And because I have a thing I teach called the 8 core self-promotion strategies, but pick one and then maybe next quarter add another one. And then, once you got those working right and you keep, next thing you know, you'll have what I call 4 to 6 reaching out methods going concurrently and your calendar will be full, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, like what I hear working with you guys, a lot of times you have to get out of your own head and you're going to write the check to get out of your own head, just so that you're right. Because sometimes you have to pay to be in the right room. And because what happens is working with mentors saves you time. Right? Because you can beat your head against the wall and just trying free stuff. But sometimes you got to connect with somebody that's kind of got this figured out, because time is not money. Time is more valuable than money. Right. And so if you can use money to buy more time, okay, and get more purposeful in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So guys, tell them how I know you have a podcast, so I want to talk about that, and tell them how they can, follow you, or, if they want to reach out to you. What's the best way for our listeners to do that?
There's a bunch of ways. I'm just going to go straight up with Sprout Connectors. So Sprout Connectors across Instagram, our website, Sprout Connectors. Individually, Deevo is at Fusion Photog. If you want to check out some of his fabulous photography, I'm at Lisa Staff Photo. And our podcast is Mind Body Business.
For me, Lisa talked a little bit about overwhelm. And if you don't have the budget and if you don't have the resources to hire someone else to do this for you, that doesn't mean you still can't play the game. Mm-hmm. What we would recommend to you is pick a channel that you really want to focus your energy and your resources and your time and your money on. It might be Facebook, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Twitter. I don't know what that is. Only you know that. But pick one channel and really dive into it and learn the nuances and the subtleties and understand the data, and start small and very focused and really have a strategy around it. And as you start to get more comfortable and your feet start getting wet, you can start playing in other sandboxes. But really, if you're very limited in the resources and availability that you have, and you don't have much confidence because you're scared to death to play in that space, to be vulnerable, and you have to be vulnerable to be on social media, start small, scale, build. It's just like anything else. Your life, your business, your brand, everything. Focus on the foundation and build accordingly from there on.
Folks, that's everything right there. I think that nails it, of what you want to get out, pick out. And then the other thing I'll add to that is, where are the people you want to help? Where are they? Right? It's like fishing. Where are the fish? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so if you're trying to catch trout, you might not want to go deep sea fishing. You're in the wrong water, right? And so and what's the right bait? They don't all like the same thing. And so now you can build from that. And so pick one and then get good at that. And then maybe you can pick another one. The whole purpose of this is, how do you get your story, tell your story better? And because it's not what it's who you know, and more importantly, who knows you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so the more people that you know, because what we're talking about investing in, your mindset, your skill set, this is a skill set, and your network. Okay. And so what Deevo and Lisa is helping you get your message out, and that skill set, and then also your network, so that you've got people that you can solve problems for, okay? Which gets y'all to make more money. And if you have more money, now Curtis can help you. So my pastor said, look, I don't mind you having self-interest. I just want to know what they are. My interest is to get your revenue up because I want you to save 15% of every check you get. So, and then that's where Curtis comes in. I'll show you what to do with your savings. So it's the same as plug. This is my show, anyway, after all. So the guys, thank you so much for joining us today and dropping serious gems and spending some time with our family today, the Practical Wealth audience. And
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the opportunity.
Enjoyed all the sports analogies too. It's a little confusing for a girl sometimes, but I was trying to keep up.
I was actually thinking as I was dropping colloquial and Curtis was dropping colloquial and you were doing analogies, it's like the whole show should just be based on a colloquial. No, there shouldn't be any real talk. They should do colloquial and analogies.
Right. That's funny.
And we should warn your neighbor that you're creeping on him.
Right. Okay. Because we're all doing that. It's like, no, I'm not gonna go off another tangent, but yes. So guys, go out there and to help you got some notes, go back, listen to this again. Work is figuring out what they said that you can apply right now. Okay. And so you can't be lazy in your learning. And so go out there, make it a profitable day, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Curtis.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be